So welcome back to the afternoon session on the capacity building workshop of decarbonizing India's transportation system. And we welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Ramakrishna Sen, who is a professor in Department of Biotechnology, IIT Kharagpur. So dear daily participants, we have two sessions in the afternoon. One session being delivered on the biofuels in India, overview and applications by Professor Ramakrishna Sen, and followed up by a industry connect, which will be delivered by Mr. D.M. Giri, founder, advisor, scientist, is ASN Fuels, and circular economy. His talk will be on circular economy in biofuel sector with a focus on rural connectivity with RBE blueprint. So we welcome you all once again, and we'll move on to the session 3 for on the day 4. So we have Professor Ramakrishna Sen with us on board, and Professor Ramakrishna Sen is a professor in the Department of Biotechnology, IIT Kharagpur. Professor Sen has academic, teaching, and research experience about 20 plus years and industrial R&D experience of about 3 years as manager in R&D Biotech, Cadlia Pharmaceuticals, an Indian multinational biopharma company. He served as a Fulbright visiting faculty in Columbia University, New York, USA. Professor Sen has been engaged in R&D activities in the areas of healthcare, energy, environment, and water, with a focus on green processes and product development for anti-cancer biomolecules, marine bacterial green surfactants, microbial and microalgal biorefinery for biofuels and value-added with containment, carbon dioxide sequestering, and waste valorization. He has about 200 publications in international, national journals, books, conferences, proceedings, and 12 patents to his credit. Professor Sen has honored with the Shastri Indo-Canadian Award in the year 2018, Distinguished Alumnus Jadavpur in the year 2017, Fulbright Visiting Professor Fellowship in 13-14, UK ERI British Council Grant for academic visits of University of London, Royal Holloway University of London, and University of Leicester, Ireland. And the second prize in the National Awards for Technology Innovation in Petrochemicals and Downstream Plastics Processing Industries from Government of India. He is a founding member of Global Biorenewable Research Society and Biological Engineering Society, India. And he is a life member of Indian Institute of Chemical Engineers, European Asian Federations of Biotechnology, and the list goes on. So without any further delay, we'd like to invite Professor R.K. Sen ji, and the platform is over to you, sir, for giving your expertise and experiences with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let me share my screen.
Yes, screen is visible, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, it should be on PowerPoint mode, sir. It's like and slide mode is there.
Yeah. I'll put it in full screen mode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's in full screen.
So thank you so much for your kind introduction. I'm really, which I don't deserve fully, but thanks for your kind gesture. Thank you, Professor Dubey, for having me here, for your kind invitation. It's an honor and opportunity for me. So good afternoon, everyone who are present online and offline. I welcome you to this presentation. I was traveling, so I was actually relying on my students, Mr. Ramit Mitra, Sandipan Gaumik, Satyanarayana, Santosh Nambi, Shairi, and others. So I deeply acknowledge their support at this time. So there will be some slides which will be some kind of showing overlap. So please excuse me. I couldn't find time to organize them properly. And since we are colleagues, we are kind of learning from each other. So I hope that would be tolerated. Kindly be. Thank you. I welcome you to this presentation, which is entitled Biofuels in India, Status, Opportunities, and Challenges. But as we have been engaged in biofuels research for the last 12 to 13 years, precisely, I will also share our R&D footprints that we have developed in the last 12 to 13 years. Uh, Let me start with this, but this is just a salient feature. As I said, it was not very well organized. I'll give a brief scenario on biofuels, then about India, about the world. Then I'll draw your attention to algal biorefinery as we are discussing about decarbonization. What are the biological routes to do that, to achieve that? I will discuss about those issues as well, which will connect you to biofuels, bioelectricity, value-added products, and so on. And then, as I said, I'll take you through some of our R&D activities that we have been doing in the last 12 to 13 years. As we are all aware of the global carbon dioxide emission issues, for which the United Nations have formed a separate committee. IPCC was developed, and they submitted, I hope you know, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Before I start blaming on carbon dioxide, we also should be aware of other greenhouse gases, and methane is no behind. I mean, it's actually causing more damage to the environment than carbon dioxide. But the problem is methane is produced from different sources, but carbon dioxide is mostly produced from point sources. So target-wise, carbon dioxide easier and convenient. So that's why we have been talking about carbon dioxide. But we should also should be able to deal with methane. Now, this slide, which was given to me by Ramit, and there are many slides that Ramit Mitra has given me, shared with me. So by Sandipan and Satyanarayana and Santosh, Sairi, and I remember and acknowledge them. So here it's showing the amount of carbon dioxide that has been emitted, and we'll see there is some decline in 2021, most probably due to pandemic. Industries were closed down, but it's picking up again. Okay, and if you just focus on this yearly global surface temperature versus atmospheric carbon dioxide, but as I said, we should not blame on carbon dioxide only. Methane also contributes a lot to global warming, but this is highly dispersed in the environment, so we cannot really measure accurately the effect of methane on global warming. So right now, 410 ppm, not right now in 2021, probably it has crossed to 410 ppm, and probably it's going towards 450 ppm. But before that, if it reaches that level, there are catastrophes that we can expect. Erratic, behavior of the climate that we are, have been experiencing. In this part of the country, the world, we used to experience monsoon probably for the first week of June, if we go back to 2010, 2015 or so, but now see it is delayed by almost 3 weeks, or by at least by 2 weeks, which is again an erratic pattern of climatic behavior. So these are happening, the places which have never witnessed any snowing, now witnessing, never witnessed good rainfall, now witnessing. So these are the changes that are happening, and most of the countries which signed Paris Accord, I hope you are now in the almost penultimate day, the last but one day of the workshops. You are very well informed by now that there are UNFCCC summits that are convened, that are organized, and it was the Paris summit which was kind of a hallmark summit in the history of mankind. 180 odd countries signed the accord, the agreement that will have control over the emissions. But it is not so easy for the developing countries to accept in toto, but still almost all the developing countries signed that accord. Unfortunately, the developed countries, some of them have kind of withdrawn one, at least that withdrawn by showing the reason that it is the developing countries which should pay the price for these emissions. But whatever damage has been done by most of the industrialized nations. Anyway, these are all geopolitical issues. Let's not get into that. But there are countries as well that do not believe in climate change. That's something really surprising and funny, but we have to accept all these practical situations. Glaciers are melting all over the world, sea level is rising, so is temperature. So these are now visible, now in fact detectable, understandable. So I don't think I don't find any reason that there should be a denial of global warming, but still there are countries which do that. So apart from these geopolitical issues, we have, as scientific community, we have some responsibilities, and we have to rise to this occasion. We have to respond to this clarion call and stand up and face this situation, deliver the solutions, probably feasible, sustainable solutions to these global challenges. These pictures definitely will tell you that the environmental security is really threatened. It's because of rampant use of fossil fuels. I hope you know that fossil fuel combustion leads to carbon dioxide emission, leads to the emission of other gases. Some are greenhouse, some are not. But these emissions have caused global warming, and that has changed the climate or changing the climate. Still now it is going on. Unless you don't have restraints, don't have control over these emissions, including methane emission from all over the world. Well, so as I was mentioning that we usually target the point sources. So before this, we usually show the thermal power plants, cement plants, the large, huge plants which are emitting carbon dioxide into the environment. Definitely, the developed countries have some sort of mechanisms to have these controlled emissions, but in developing countries, which need to produce cement, which need to produce energy from coal, sometimes cannot afford to do that. So there our responsibilities lie. We should come forward and try to derive some such solutions, as I was mentioning, by asking the questions: can you tap these from the point sources, the carbon dioxide that's being emitted into the environment, and do something? So there are many ways of sequestering, capturing carbon dioxide. Geological storage is very, very well known. There are chemical conversions, but we do biological, and that I will show you a little later. So, but the repercussions that these emissions are causing to the environment is kind of the glaciers that are melting, as I was mentioning. Polar bears are now not finding their habitats so safe. So certain cities are drowning, kind of getting drowned. In Netherlands, you might have heard that some cities, some of the countries, I would say, have islands which have already emerged into the sea. People are predicting that some of our cities which are in the coastal line are actually going to be facing the similar fate, probably after 2050 or so. So these are certain predictions. I hope there are models which have helped us to predict this. But this is now a reality. Okay, forest fire, as we are experiencing now in the Canada-US border, which is also contributing. And all these are actually leading to, again, CO2 is coming on this slide. But remember, methane is not falling behind. I mean, it's also contributing almost equally, if not more. So what are these going to do? I mean, they are actually causing certain insecurities in the society. Energy insecurity is getting threatened, environmental security is getting threatened. So is water security, and followed by, consequently, food and health. So when we think of deriving some solutions, we definitely should remember the nexus between all these, all the five, energy, environment, water, health, and food and health, right? So as it is saying that the crisis is looming large all over the world, right? So when we are faced with, the humanity is faced with this kind of a situation, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are actually framed and designed by the United Nations. Now, we have been trying, yes, the scientific community, the industry, and also the policymakers have been trying to comply with some of these goals in our own ways, in our own capacities. But remember, whatever we do should lead towards deriving some such solutions so as to achieve some of these goals, if not one, more, if not more, of these 17 goals. And that is what our targets as well. And Professor Dubey's lab has been working in that direction. Some of our colleagues are working in those directions. That is what I hope those who are from other institutes are trying their own ways to achieve some of these goals. Now, this slide also says that there are policies which are in place. Sometimes we call it biofuel policy, sometimes call it energy policy. But these are all changing with time. I remember in 2007, Government of India came up with biodiesel mission, which was based on Jatropha. It was overhyped at that time without understanding the practical repercussions of choosing one particular feedstock without having considered the availability of land, arable land, availability of water to irrigate, the gestation period that the plant takes to yield the seeds, and then the rest of the technological challenges. So anyway, that was, I think, owned in 2009-10, and then a new policy was launched. And as per the current policies, the new policy was launched, I think, in 2018. And after the Paris Accord was signed. So as you can see, Paris 2015 in November, almost 200 countries signed this agreement. And we are all bound by this agreement to reduce the emissions. But remember, the developing countries will find it difficult to reduce emissions, but we have to devise mechanisms as to how to deal with this. Without emitting, we will not be able to progress. We won't be able to develop. We won't be able to develop the nation. So that's why we need to have technologies which can capture this. So initially we used to call it carbon sequestration, but then later on we realized that we won't be able to sequester for 100 years. Sequestration is applied to processes by which we can capture CO2 or any such damaging gases for 100 years, NOx, SOx, whatever you say, for 100 years. That's not possible. The methods that we actually are following can capture for some time, and then by again due to some use or degradation or leakage, that is what it happened in. Unfortunately, happened in many countries, particularly in Brazil. Geological storage of carbon dioxide was done, but it leaked and then caused havoc. So many people died. So having considered all these, we need to design policies. We need to develop technologies for sustainable development, right? So CO2 emissions, as it is shown here, and this is kind of a window from 2000 to 2040. Which is showing that carbon dioxide CO2 emission is bound to fall, bound to reduce after probably 2030. And now it is the middle, so kind of 2020 here. So after this, it is bound to fall. But developing countries cannot do that immediately. So it is our responsibility to develop technologies to do CCUS, carbon dioxide capture, utilization, and storage. We came up with another word, carbon dioxide, recycle, CCR, but we are not, emphasizing on that right now. So if that is the scenario that we are going to, see from 2030 onwards, then there will be some changes in the amount of fossil energy that we have been using. So coal, definitely coal will be dwindling with time. People are now, prescribing methanol from coal. In fact, China and other countries have developed such technologies. Methanol may take the intermediate, I would say the economy between the fossil fuel economy and biofuel, bio-renewable economy, bioeconomy, bio-based economy, whatever we say. Anyway, so there would be better uses of coal. It's not that we are going to abandon coal. We cannot really avoid the natural resources that have been gifted to us by the nature. Okay, then oil. Definitely, in terms of the production, it will not be that much cost effective, but still overnight changes cannot be expected. So the world has seen the peak of oil production in 2008 to 2010, but still we can continue with there are geopolitical issues. So the oils might be there in store in some countries. We need to kind of expedite oil recovery. We have to use environment-friendly technologies like AMUR, biotechnologically enhanced oil recovery, microbially enhanced oil recovery, enzymatically enhanced oil recovery, and so on. They're green methods, but they are slow processes as well. Anyway, so oil production, as it will be, will not be encouraged so much from now onward. That's why you'll be finding that diesel cars are not being manufactured. The number is going to decrease over time. For some time, petrol cars will be gasoline, gas-based cars will be there. And then the battery. So that is what now hybrid cars you are finding in the markets coming gradually into the market. But the amount of gas used will increase. And it's not about natural gas. It will be also about the shale gas that the US actually is marketing. Other countries are also there in the fray. So gas production and gas usage would be much more. But more interestingly, you'll find the use of nuclear power, definitely for peaceful uses of nuclear power, and renewables. The renewable energy, wherein we'll find the major use would come from solar and wind. And definitely a smaller fraction will be contributed by liquid transportation fuels from bioresources, right? Biomass-based fuels. We know some of the names, but definitely new names will be emerging as we'll be learning the processes more and more. We'll be moving up the learning curve over the next 20 years or so. As of now, we know bioethanol, biodiesel, biobutanol. There are other DME, methanol as well. Some countries are definitely coming up with these solutions. So biorenewables and renewable energy sources will take a significant chunk of the total energy use with significant reduction of carbon dioxide emission. But we have to ensure parallelly reduction of methane emission as well. Okay, all these would combined, in a combined fashion will probably ensure sustainable development from 2030 onwards. The sustainability is all about protecting the natural resources for the next generations. We are not supposed to deprive our next generation, so we should be very careful about utilizing the natural resources that are available to us. Right? We are not supposed to exhaust the resources, which include energy, fuels, which include water, which include land, and so on. There are talks here and there of shifting the entire civilization to another planet, probably Mars or Saturn, Enceladus, or some other planet, or maybe satellites of planets. But that will take longer time. So at least if we can envisage up to 2070, this is going to be the scenario. And hopefully by that time, even India will be able to catch up with the kind of investments, the policies that are coming up. We need definitely major funding in R&Ds, which is not so encouraging nowadays. But hopefully, industry-academia relationship would be encouraged more and more and would be facilitated so as to enable us to achieve some of these sustainable development goals. Now, this slide is showing low carbon sources and coal in world electricity generation. There are shares that are given, and solar PV is definitely, we have been hearing that solar PV R&D, which has been going on for the last 3 decades or so, more than that. But still, it has not yielded, I would say, sustainable technologies. But definitely, all these will be, the pies in the entire game, entire scenario of fuel and energy research, or energy, I would say, technology development endeavors. Here also you can see solar PV, wind, and other renewables, which is kind of considerable, up to 20%. And then nuclear, coal, the same thing that I have already presented. And hopefully that will lead to low carbon. See, decarbonization is something, to my mind, we really cannot decarbonize everything. All you have to do is to develop cyclic processes, so as to whatever carbon dioxide that you generate should be utilized in the process. So, like what we say, zero discharge, waste discharge. Similarly, zero CO2 discharge into the environment. That is what should be our goals, and that would definitely ensure attainment or guarantee attainment of some of these sustainable development goals, right? So these are some of the slides that I will share with you, and due to paucity of time, I mean, you can just go through these, but in India's energy demand, that is what this particular frame is talking about. As a requirement, India has a requirement of about 1,516 million tons of oil equivalent energy by 2031-32, from 542 million tons of oil equivalent in 2006. So it has, it's going to increase enormously, almost 3 times, because the population is rising. As population is rising, the energy demand is rising with time. But we are now, being told, or rather the responsibility, onus is on us to reduce the consumption of fossil fuel. So production would be definitely, with time, would be more costlier, more expensive. So automatically fossil fuels would be out of our reach probably after 2030 or 2040. It won't be that much affordable. I wouldn't say it will not be there. It will be there, but will not be that much affordable. So then the renewable solutions will take that space. And our challenge would be to make these renewable solutions viable and sustainable. Okay. So the prediction is like that: when the petrol price, if we take petrol price, gasoline price will go beyond 200 rupees 200 liter per day, per liter, sorry, 200 rupees 200 per liter, then probably some of these biofuel solutions. But I tell you, probably you have heard so many lectures, but to my mind, to my knowledge, bioethanol, biobutanol, or even biodiesel, they're not truly alternative solutions to fossil fuels. Okay, because they are oxygenated compounds, so they have lesser energy density, lesser energy contained. Okay, in terms of calorific value, you can check. And it's not that burning them, carbon dioxide will not be emitted. Carbon dioxide will be emitted, but the amount of carbon dioxide that will be taken up to produce them should be either equal to or less than what we are producing. So that would be our challenges. Okay, or I would say zero carbon dioxide discharge. So amount of carbon dioxide or the carbon that we are using in the process should be equal to the amount of carbon that we are developing in terms of fuels. So then it will be kind of a cyclic process without carbon dioxide discharge into the environment. But to achieve that, we have to go a little longer, I mean, long way. But as you can see, there is a steep jump here in just 2006 to 2031, almost in 25 years. Now, how do we meet this energy demand? How do we meet this gap? So then, is it only by renewables? No, there will be nuclear power, which has to play an important role, but definitely with a lot of responsibility, with a lot of good leadership, this nuclear power should be used. Okay, now you can see the total power demand versus oil demand. Now, when oil demand would be 458, probably in terms of million metric tons, okay, but the total demand will be 1,908 by 2040. So how do we meet this gap? So definitely renewables have to come. And as I have understood the scenario, this gap will be transiently filled by methanol for some time, so that the coal or fossil fuels can be used to produce methanol in a very environment-friendly manner without releasing carbon dioxide into the environment. Even if the carbon dioxide is produced in little excess, we should have technologies to convert that carbon dioxide, what you call carbon dioxide utilization, into products like, again, methanol and DME, dimethyl ether, and so on. There are new other fuels or fuel additives coming up. But remember, for all these, we need hydrogen. And that's another challenge. And there are schools of thoughts. They are preaching for hydrogen, clean hydrogen, green hydrogen, because if hydrogen is combusted, there is no carbon dioxide, or there is nothing like any carbon emission. So that is one major advantage. But producing hydrogen in cleaner and greener way is a huge, huge challenge. Water splitting, water electrolysis, all these methods are well known for many, many years. Microbial hydrogen is also well known, but won't be sufficient enough to meet the demand. So definitely hydrogen will again occupy a major space in the entire renewables or biorenewable scenario. May not be biorenewable, but renewable scenario. Hydel power, definitely, but these rivers are drying up due to, so these are again challenges. The water bodies are drying up due to global rise in temperature and so on. So as I said, there's a nexus. It's not that if we just solve one problem, just in our own domain, in our own silo, if we think we are just developed some solution, we are producing some amount of bioethanol or some amount of biodiesel, and thinking that we are going to solve the energy crisis, it's not that. It's not that easy. Okay, so those who are engaged in research, innovation, development, technology development, they must be aware of this. That just producing a fuel, a biofuel, in some quantities, without taking care of holistically, without understanding the requirement of water, the requirement of fossil energy for doing that. Okay, fossil energy input versus the energy or bioenergy or renewable energy output. Where are we standing? We also have to consider labor. We have to consider land usage change, or rather, it's a big issue in the developed countries nowadays. Real estate versus land that should be available for crops, for food, as well as for energy. So having considered all these issues, we can move towards some sort of sustainable solutions. So there are certain projections, India's fuel use projections, which are given in million liters. This has been taken from India Biofuel Annual Report 2019. Thanks, Ramit, for providing this. But as you can see, from 2010, within this window up to 2019, the requirement or usage of gasoline has increased enormously, doubled, more than that. So is diesel. It's not doubled, but as you can see, it has increased significantly. And jet fuel also requirement and usage. Here we are not showing requirement. It has been used already by 2019, and we are in 2023. So if you consider total fuel markets, there is a significant increase in the usage. So far, we have been managing with the fossil fuels that have been gifted by nature, petroleum and coal. But the gap will be rising as the population is rising. And, as most of the countries are developing, their economies are developing, we are talking about circular economy. Okay, but as the economy is also growing, even in India, you can get to see the number of cars per household has been increasing over the last 10 years or so. So the energy demand is increasing, and usage of AC and other also. These are other issues that we need to keep in mind while designing any technology development endeavor, or I would say designing policies. Right. So when we have these figures, facts and figures before us, we should be now able to understand the biofuel policies, which are known as national policies on biofuels 2018. Here there is a target that has been fixed by the government of India, a target of around 25% blending of biofuels in gasoline. Now, when we say gasoline, we can mix, I would say, ethanol, and that has been going on for the last few years or so, starting from 5% to reach the target of 20%. Probably from 2017 onwards, this was started, but in the recent past, this has been very, very prominent. But again, we have to remember that if we supplement, it's called, ethanol blends. If we supplement with more than 20%, then the energy density of the mixture will really become a major concern. So up to 20% is okay. But there are countries, particularly Brazil, which has shown that 100% ethanol-enabled vehicles can be operated, and they have been doing it. But now probably they are finding the difficulties because, as you know, probably those who have been working in the area of biofuels, there are generations of biofuels: first generation, second generation, third generation. We are talking about fourth generation as well. So we have to derive these biofuels, ethanol, as the energy demand would be increasing, from biomass. We are not supposed to draw from anything which has food value, right? So food versus fuel debate, which occurred in the 90s, and then actually influenced the policies of most of the governments in the 2000, in the new millennium. And so now we are very much, conscious and careful about the feedstock. The feedstock should be such that it should not encroach upon the arable land. It should not come in direct competition with food. It should not demand more water for irrigation. So these are certain challenges, right? And there are environmental issues around them as well. So it's not about energy sustainability, it's about environmental, as I mentioned, water and food and health, all are connected. Right, so let's have a look at this National Policy on Biofuels 2018. The salient features represent this, the national biomass repository by conducting appraisal of biomass across the country. Anyway, national biomass repositories have been made here and there. DBT has come up with some of the labs in different parts of the countries. Okay, Agricultural Research Organization, ICRA, has some labs. They are mostly having repositories of plants, but algal collections are being or have been developed in Manipur and in southern part of India. I think in Bharatidasan University, there is a national marine microalgal culture collections. So these are algal repositories developed. So the government of India has been, trying to develop these facilities so that we get the right feedstock, we get to do research on the right feedstock and prescribe the right solution for it. So as far as lignocellulosic biofuel is concerned, for bioethanol, people are talking more about bagasse, sugarcane bagasse, and there are so many other plant wastes. Earlier, it used to be like softwood, hardwood, plant leaves, and so on. But logistics of collection became a major concern. But when the government of India found that sugarcane is produced in only a few states in India, so the localized logistical issues can be easily handled. So bagasse has turned out to be most favored lignocellulosic biomass resource, but there are challenges of releasing sugar from bagasse by doing pretreatment. Okay, so those challenges will be discussed a little later. Now there is a thrust on advanced biofuels. It's not about only bioethanol, biodiesel, biobutanol, and so on. As advanced biofuels are required, and some of these, as I mentioned, bio-CNG is one such, but hydrogen is coming up in a bigger way, and government funding has been increasing on hydrogen, clean hydrogen or green hydrogen. And I would, as I said, I suggest that we should also focus on methanol. But for that, hydrogen is required. So hydrogen to be used as fuel, hydrogen to be used to reduce carbon dioxide to produce methanol. So we have to do trade-off between these two. Anyways, the policy indicates a viability gap funding scheme for 2G ethanol biorefineries, whatever rupees, 5,000 crores in 6 years. Let's not quote all these right now. As compared to 1G biofuels. 1G means first generation bioethanol is produced from corn molasses. So corn again is of much food value. So we are not supposed to use corn. Cane we are not supposed to use because we derive sugar out of cane. Even molasses, the waste part of it can be used. And that is what our bioethanol industry is doing. Definitely some of the industries which have come up in very recent times are using bagasse or some such lignocellulosic biomass. Though I don't find the rationale behind using even the food sources, but for the time being, as long as we are confident of meeting our food demand, it is okay. Probably it's okay. Otherwise, again, it may lead to food insecurity issues in the near future. But by the time, we should be having technologies ready for 2G and 3G ethanol. Anyway, advanced biofuels also includes, I'll talk of bio-oil, bio-crude, and then advanced biofuels like ATF, what is called aviation turbine fuel for aviation industries. These are now being developed. Definitely it would take a little longer, or I say longer than expected, because there are energy audit issues. The energy that we are putting in from through electricity, which is then generated by using fossil fuels, petroleum or coal, vis-a-vis how much energy that we are generating by producing this bio-oil is a big question. But the chemistry-wise, technology-wise, now it is known that bio-oil probably could take the space of fossil fuels, because bio-oil is mostly composed of alkanes, hydrocarbons, but there are again oxygenated compounds, mostly carboxylic acid-based compounds. those can be converted into, again, alkane. So there are reduction mechanisms for which we need hydrogen. So that's where people are talking more about hydrogen these days. Even if you convert bio oil into advanced advanced fuels, we have to go through dehydroxygenation reactions, right? That also is quite energy demanding. It would require very efficient catalysts. Catalyst development would require a lot of energy. So these are the issues, So we need to do trade-off between many such parameters so as to optimize the inputs and outputs, and to derive sustainable solutions. So as far as R&D is concerned, definitely many labs have been working in these directions. But optimal, sustainable solutions are still awaited. Probably in between 2030 and 2040, when we'll be really faced with the very hard challenges to produce biofuels. Hopefully, the mature technologies will be introduced into the industry. Okay, so instead of going through all these, let us just have this information that Government of India is going to set up National Biofuel Coordination Committee under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and working group on biofuels. Already it has been done. DBT has a biofuel wing that is very, very active. So is DST, SCRB, so is MNRE, Petroleum Ministry, and so on. So, the government has been doing a lot to facilitate the development of this renewable solutions and also some biofuel solutions, obviously. But as I said, bioethanol, biodiesel cannot be the future fuels. As stopgap management, they can be used as a supplement. So even for that, we need to produce, right? We cannot shy away from producing this. Okay, so I think whatever I wanted to say, I've said that. Here you can see different generations of bioenergy or biofuels. The fuel type, first generation bioethanol, biodiesel, but first generation, remember, from food crops. Here it's there. So procurement from or produced from food crops like corn, sugarcane, animal. I think I've already mentioned. It's not about animal fats alone. Even conventional oils, right? What you call edible oils. It's very difficult in a country like India to discriminate between edible and non-edible. But anyway, so we have to be very careful so that we use only non-edible, non-conventional oil sources for biodiesel production as feedstock, right? That's why algae have come as a kind of solution, whether it's a midterm solution, intermediate solution, or really a final solution that time will tell us. But there's a long way to go again. Second generation bio-CNG, compressed natural gas, bioethanol, biodiesel, again, these are from lignocellulosic biomass. They're called agrofuels as well, from agricultural residues, agro-industrial residues. As you know, even people were suggesting straw. But in developing countries like India, straw has other uses. So you have to keep in mind what are the other uses, other benefits that common people, the society derives from any feedstock. So I hope you know that straw has fodder use, straw has use as material for making huts in the rural areas. So we cannot take away, straw from these usage and produce biofuels all the time. So we have to, again, some I would say policies must be framed to have restricted use of these raw materials or feedstock. But lignocellulosic biomass, though there are technological challenges, the pretreatment challenges, as you know, there are processes like steam alkali explosion, ammonia fiber explosion. They are very chemical demanding, energy demanding to deconstruct, depolymerize lignocellulosic biomass into cellulose and hemicellulose, and then subsequent enzymatic saccharification of cellulose, hemicellulose into fermentable sugars, C6, C5, pentoses and hexoses, and there are further technological challenges of producing ethanol or butanol from pentoses, because our conventional existing technologies can deal with C6 sugars, hexoses, but cannot deal with pentoses. So you need to have what we call little biotar metabolically engineered strains, which can grow on both C5 and C6 sugars, pentoses and hexoses, to produce ethanol and butanol kind of fuel solutions. But again, these are intermediate solutions. But this will be there. It's not that the lignocellulose-based biofuels will just go away. No, there will be some conversion, some kind of derivatives that we need to find out, like DME is one, dimethyl ether, which has turned out to be a very good solution, can be mixed with petrol, can be mixed with diesel as well. Some such new chemicals as fuels or as commodities definitely will be discovered and are being discovered nowadays. So many new technologies coming up, at least some new knowledge generation has been happening if you go through literature. So having considered all these, for the time being, lignocellulosic biomass, as we know, bagasse and other, as I mentioned, other, say, rice straw, rice husk, and so on. We actually worked on rice husk, which is very tough to crack, okay, because it has a lot of silica. So we worked on it, and we actually, instead of doing steam alkali explosion or ammonia fiber explosion, we actually developed weight air oxidation, and then further improvised alkaline peroxide weight air oxidation to release cellulose, hemicellulose, deconstruct biomass to separate lignin from cellulose and hemicellulose. So we in our own way we developed, but then we, after having done LCA life cycle analysis, this is something in which Professor Dubey is a world-renowned expert, life cycle analysis of what we do. Cradle to grave is the most important way of looking at it. But sometimes we cannot do cradle to grave. We have to somehow find some gates as per our convenience. So cradle to gate 1, gate 2, gate 3, whatever, or gate 1 to gate 2, something like that. He is an expert. So those who are offline attending this workshop, please interact with him to know more on this LCA, right? So that you can generate new knowledge on whatever you are doing right now. LCA is very, very important to not only to know whether your process and product, whatever you are developing, is feasible, but whether it is sustainable as well. There will be definitely parameters like global warming potential, and it's all based on energy input and output. So these studies are compulsory. These are mandatory nowadays. Okay. Anyway, so third generation biofuel, again, biodiesel is coming. See, biodiesel, we have been working since 2003, at least my group, 2003 onwards. I started with, I was there in Bits Pilani that time. I started with, I remember, soybean oil, which is an edible oil, funny, but still I started with that because you have to start from somewhere. And then gradually shifted to, a US-based company approached us. They asked us to develop a continuous process for biodiesel production using cottonseed oil, because cottonseed oil is in surplus in the US. And glycerol, which is a byproduct of biodiesel production, is also surplus. So the challenges were to produce biodiesel from cottonseed oil and convert this glycerol into some useful product. So we have been able to do the first one, patented the process, the continuous process. It's an integrated PBR CSTR model, CSTR PBR model, which was kind of a new process that was developed, patented, and it was taken by the company. And we tried to convert biodiesel into propane 2,3-diol, which is an intermediate in polymer industry. We haven't gone far because of lack of funding, but anyway, these are different possibilities which can be tried and tested. And people have done a lot of work on that. So third generation again, biodiesel, jet fuels, butanol. Yes, now you see a new feedstock, algae. In the US, people say algae, and in India, we pronounce it in different ways. Algae, and algae. Whatever it is, this is something, a wonder, I would say, microorganism or bug, which can do multitasking, which can do multiple jobs, because it has been known for years to sequester carbon dioxide, but that way it was not known that it can be produced in very large scale in terms of biomass, which can be leveraged to capture carbon dioxide. Sequestration, we have to refrain ourselves from using that term, because we are not going to capture carbon dioxide through algae for 100 years or more. So algal carbon dioxide capture is possible. Algae has been tested for wastewater remediation. So that is known, but it was not known very at least in 90s and back, that algae can be a very good source for biofuels. Though there were some first reports here and there, but it was in the new millennium that people discovered this as the workhorse for biofuels research and development, and then innovation, and then now it's going to be the most favored feedstock, provided we go through certain metabolic engineering procedures to produce more biomass in less time, because algal biomass grows to considerably higher density, but it takes longer time, 14, 15 days, 10 to 15 days. And also, when it is grown on wastewater, it's grown on carbon dioxide, which is coming from flue gas, we do not get high biomass density. So these are the challenges, and the producing biomass at a concentration or density of 1 to 2 grams per liter will not help. We have to produce at least at 10 grams per liter and continuously. If not continuously, what you call semi-continuous process, wet batch process, we have to adopt to produce algae at a high density. You may nowadays, people are talking of only biomass, industry is looking for biomass. So you may extract the lipid or starch from algae to produce biodiesel or bioethanol respectively. Starch for bioethanol and lipid for biodiesel. But you can use the whole biomass, subject that biomass to hydrothermal liquefaction or pyrolysis and produce bio-oil. Pyrolysis will demand dry biomass, whereas hydrothermal liquefaction will demand wet biomass. But you can produce bio-oil, bio-crude in both these cases, and biochar as a major byproduct. So these are known. Probably some slides, subsequent slides will tell you. But on the left-hand side, what are the renewable energy sources? A list is given. Out of these biofuels, I would say biomethanol will also take the space after some time. Or maybe now it has already taken some space in some of the countries. Hydropower is already there. The kind of hydel power projects are coming up in many countries. Biomass, wood, biogas, already discussed. Solar, photovoltaic, thermal, wind energy, okay. Solar, definitely, it's a very perennial source, inexpensive source, God's gift. But if we keep on producing equipment for tapping solar energy to produce, to develop solar cells for energy storage and then energy transmission, we have to keep in mind that these equipment that we are using, the solar panels and other equipment, even the batteries, should not be manufactured using fossil energy sources. Okay, that we should keep in mind. And all these are there, okay? Thermal, wind energy, small hydropower, and so on. Wind energy is going to come in a big way. It's already there in many countries, but it has to come in a big way. Okay, in southern part of India, you'll get to see, as far as India is concerned, the wind mills connected to turbines. Am I supposed to stop now? So quickly, let me go through. What's the time? I can't get to see.
No, it's 4 o'clock. Yeah, I think you have another 30 minutes. I think.
Okay. So fine, thank you. So I can go on some more time. So these slides will help you. We'll share these slides with you. Will help you as to where we are as far as India is concerned in terms of ethanol production. So millions of liters being produced by conventional ethanol producing industries and also bioethanol producing, biofuel producing industries, which are recently coming up with government support. They are trying to reduce the usage of corn-based starch. So they are mostly trying to use lignocellulosic biomass. But in terms of yield, I'm not very sure whether ethanol is really profitable right now. But there are subsidies which are being given by government to facilitate ethanol manufacturing for use as biofuel. Okay, so there are multiple uses of ethanol, as you know, but we'll be focusing on its use as fuel. So this graph will tell you, and as I was mentioning, Brazil is on the top as far as ethanol production is concerned. It's there, you can see the, okay. And I visited Brazil 2-3 times, and I have seen 100% ethanol. I have in fact and used those cars and kind of vehicles where 100% ethanol was used. And there are, like you see, gas stations, petrol pumps here and here. So there are ethanol fueling pumps. So this has been there, but recently we are getting to know that it is not that much feasible nowadays, and 100% ethanol enabled cars are not as much efficient because people can compare both are being run, right? Both are being operated, petrol-driven cars and ethanol-driven cars. So people get to compare, and then these reports are not very encouraging. But definitely, as a supplement, as a blend, ethanol will be there for some more time. Some more data. Anyway, so these are talking more about production capacities that India has right now as far as bioethanol is concerned. In terms of market penetration, fuel ethanol, it was there almost 50, I hope, in terms of metric ton. In 2010, it was 50, and now it is 2,400. So we have progressed quite immensely. And to my knowledge, some ethanol producing industries are there in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, and also in Himachal Pradesh, which is now supplying to. These are all tied up with our government companies like IOCL, BPCL, HPCL, and so on. So usually we do not get to know their production capacities because of this tie-up, internal tie-up. And in terms of gasoline, this is the production capacity. So we need to think of blending rates. So now by 2018, it was 4.1. 2019, I think we could achieve 5.8% blending rate. I hope you must have come across high octane petrol. Okay, so those days it was not official, but some of the companies used to sell high octane or high power petrol by blending ethanol. But it was kind of misleading if you know the science of it. Now it is official. So 5%, now it's going to be 10%, and then it's going to be 30%, 20% by 2030. So that is what the projection is. Hopefully, the demand would be met by 2030 by the Indian industry. And we also can be stakeholders in that, right? So we are now in the process of developing bioethanol production, process rather, from algal biomass. So Ramit Mitra is a senior research scholar working with me. He is working on this. If we are successful, definitely algal biodiesel we know. Algal bio oil is also known. Now, algal bioethanol, though there are companies in Florida, Professor Dubey visited recently, was there for 1 year. There's a company called Alginol. It produces ethanol from algae. So we do not know what is the process that they're following, but we would like to develop some innovative, novel process for producing bioethanol just by hydrolyzing algal biomass into release some sugars will not be our target. We'll do something else. Okay, and we also target the off gas that's coming out of bio oil production facility to be used for bioethanol production. So these are certain challenges that we are trying to address in our lab, because you have to have the right yeast strains. Ultimately, you have to use yeast to produce ethanol, and that is something the whole world knows. So this yeast has to be quite efficient, so that we can produce a significant amount of ethanol to be a stakeholder in this entire game. Well, so now coming to this fossil fuel, there's a comparative estimate. Diesel, gasoline, aviation fuel, CNG, LPG, and low sulfur bunker fuel. Probable biofuel alternatives. These are given. Biodiesel, green diesel for diesel, bio-based alcohols, bioethanols, ethers, DME for both, and then aviation fuel, the biojet fuel, SAF, sustainable aviation fuels. Many countries are working on sustainable aviation fuels. We are also trying in our own way, but again, catalyst development is the bottleneck. So we are collaborating and trying to develop some such solutions. And CNG, PNG, bio-CNG, bio-PNG, these are certain solutions. Bio-hydrogen comes, because it's a gaseous fuel, but it will come in a big way, to my understanding nowadays, provided we can have breakthroughs in water splitting technologies. Definitely, there are technologies available, which would be definitely expensive for us to afford. So those who are working in hydrogen or on hydrogen, please try to focus on its production from water or wastewater, if possible. Okay, microbial hydrogen will have limited, I would say, use, because the production yield is pretty low. Well, available production technologies are given. Diesel can be produced by transesterification, biodiesel, hydroprocessing. In fact, syngas derived Fischer-Tropsch diesel, it's called FT diesel. So these are different processes. Ethanols or alcohols are produced mostly by fermentation, and definitely some hydroprocessing, pyrolysis, catalytic pyrolysis, biocoking, and so on. There are other processes which produce some alcohols. See, alcohols, ketones, and aldehydes will be produced because if you use any oxidizing method, these will be produced. But either we have to have mechanisms of enough hydrogen to reduce them to hydrocarbon, or we have to get rid of these ketones and aldehydes, in some way or the other, by catalytic means mostly. Aviation fuel, the hydroprocessing, as I said, FT, Fischer-Tropsch again, but it's dehydroxygenation of oil, bio oil, which can be called algal oil if it's coming from algae. Okay, this is one method which has been tried and tested. This is also one of our goals, and probably if we work on the life cycle analysis of it, we can figure out where we need to reduce the fossil energy inputs, and how can we meet that energy from renewable sources. These are the challenges, and these challenges cannot be met in isolation, cannot be made in one laboratory in a silo design. We have to collaborate very extensively. Okay, so we have to join hands and minds to derive these solutions. CNG, PNG by fermentation, LPG, catalytic conversion of biogas. This is what is done in cracking units. I hope you know petroleum refinery works that way. That's why we are calling our methods and processes combined together as biorefinery. And since algal biomass takes the center stage, we call it algal biorefinery. That's the feedstock. Like we use crude oil as feedstock in petroleum refinery and derive, LPG as one of the products, the topmost. And then comes naphtha, then gasoline, kerosene, diesel, and the bottom part of it. Okay, by mimicking this petroleum refining technology, we are trying to develop, and it's not that there are many laboratories all over the world are trying to develop these biorefineries, either lignocellulosic biorefinery or algal biorefinery. So these are certain processes we can discuss later on. This time is short, but art is long, and there are certain other, I think repetition of what has been said earlier. I will straight away move towards, because there's so much of information that Ramit, Sandipan, Satya, they have put together. Mostly Ramit, I'm presenting the information that he has provided to me. So thank you if you're attending, I'm not sure. Coming to biorefinery, this is one concept. We may take pride in, we started off working on these biorefinery concepts in 2009 and see the definition by IEA, Bioenergy Task 42, also came in 2009. And it was by God's grace that I got connected to UC Berkeley through Dr. Prabhakar Sinha in 2009. And it was by the grace of the towering personality of Prabhakar Sinha, who has funded IIT through endowment, funding mechanism through IIT Foundation. And we have now PK Sinha Center for Bioenergy and Renewables. So whatever I say, I dedicate that, everything, our research, our thoughts, our ideas to Dr. Prabhakar Sinha, another stalwart Professor Dr. Chris Somerville, who was heading that time the Energy Biosciences Institute, EBI, UC Berkeley. We were fortunate enough to have him twice here. He came to inaugurate PK Sinha Center for Bioenergy and also hosted us when we visited. Very kind of him. Very, I would say he was actually that time, he was the advisor to President Obama, bioenergy advisor. So it was great to have interacted with him. And while doing these interactions, going through these interactions, the learning process, our lab started biorefinery research since 2009. What is this? Biorefinery is the sustainable processing of biomass into a spectrum of marketable products. I would just add by mimicking the petroleum refining process. Okay. Then it was further, concretized, I would say, formalized by giving another definition by NREL, National Renewable Energy Laboratory, USA. A biorefinery is a facility that integrates biomass conversion processes and equipment to produce fuels, power. This power was not there. Now we can even connect this to grid. Value-added chemicals, commodities from biomass. The biorefinery concept is analogous to today's petroleum refinery, which produces multiple fuels and products from petroleum as feedstock. And I am very happy, pleased to share with you that one of my students, I wouldn't say my, but just to indicate that she's a student of BBDL, the Bioprocess and Bioproduct Development Laboratory, IIT Kharagpur, Dr. Gitanjali Yadav. He has contributed immensely to our biofuel research. After having received accolades and laureates from all over the world, she got Newton Baba, she got Fulbright, she got MITAX. And then now she is an employee of NREL, a permanent employee. That's something which is which makes us very proud, feel very proud of her. So that NREL definition is still going on. It's still valid and acceptable to the whole world. So having that in mind, we have also taken a journey starting from 2009 from biorefinery first stage to second stage, depending on the feedstock. I've already discussed about that. Then third stage, and finally from algae, from third stage onward. And then here you can see bio oil and ATF. Only through a biorefinery model or a concept. Okay. I'm going a little faster now. Now I would like to draw your attention to our research. The philosophy was to leverage algal biomass, which is produced by using apparently free sunlight, free wastewater, and free carbon dioxide. We definitely need to develop the direct air capture, direct capture of carbon dioxide from air. But we targeted point sources. I mentioned why, because they're concentrated point source. And if we can develop a flue gas generator like the chimneys that you are seeing here on the left-hand side, on my left-hand side, there's a power plants. The huge power plants emit a lot of carbon dioxide into the environment. It's not carbon dioxide alone, NOx, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, along with some alkanes, and then smoke and particulate matter. And all are released into the environment, very, very unfortunately. Probably now some regulations are in place. So they have capacitors, they are restricting smoke and particulate matters. That's why we do not get to see much of fly ash nowadays around these industries. But still, carbon dioxide emission is happening. So we asked ourselves whether we can generate this flue gas, carbon dioxide. These are called flue stacks, very, very tall stacks. So in our journey, we actually have developed such a flue stack. Okay, just a minute. Wastewater is no longer free. Industry is now charging. Earlier it was free. So as we move up the time curve as well, we'll see these will no longer be free. But then out of these, algal biomass, you can derive biofuel, clean water. I wouldn't say very clean, but it's reusable water. Then there are multiple product options. In just fertilizer is given as one. There can be antioxidants. There are anti-cancer molecules. There are animal feed, fish feed, biofertilizer, another. And there are again bio oil, biochar, and so on. There are so many possibilities nowadays. So those possibilities are here as microalgal biorefinery, as I'm showing you right now. Different product options, output options, and that's why huge photobioreactors and reservoir ponds. I will mention this once again. These are coming up in many countries, particularly in the coastal areas, just to draw marine water so as to reduce the freshwater usage and so on, and produce algal biomass. But the challenge still is there to produce to high density. So that's why we need to do a lot of research to increase this density to at least 10 grams per liter. We are also working towards that. And biofuel options already I have mentioned, but remember biomethane, if you could derive nothing like, but biogas is very much used in rural India. So this can be bio-CNG, bio-PNG, a little bit purification is required. Bioethanol, biodiesel, already I mentioned, all these can come from algal biomass, biopharmaceuticals, biofertilizers, feed and aquaculture, pigments, which are very good antioxidants. Some of them qualify, like lutein, we have worked on, qualifies as very good anti-cancer molecule. Okay, while doing multiple tasking like capturing carbon dioxide from point sources, then remediating or valorizing wastewater into multiple things, producing bioelectricity by MFC intervention. Okay, may not be good enough to put it to the grid, but maybe sufficient enough to charge the modern computers, mobiles, and so on. So this is the bigger picture of algal biorefinery. It will also show a similar thing, but if we focus on different fuel options, then you can see by using flue gas, carbon dioxide, which is supposed to be cheaper, but if we are producing ourselves, it's not going to be cheaper. Wastewater, again, logistics of its collection, its transport will cost us, even if they are given free of cost. And then you come to this place where the algal reactors will be there. There can be closed reactors, there can be open reactor systems. Closed photobioreactors, which require light, sometimes we give artificial light by using LEDs and so on. Again, energy intensive. These are fossil fuel based, drawing electricity. We have to remember what is the input from fossil energy. But considering the control mechanisms that have to be in place for photobioreactors, we cannot really afford photobioreactors for biofuel production, because biofuels, or any fuel for that matter, is very large volume, low value product. We cannot really afford to produce a very large volume, billions of gallons, and low value. People would expect 50 rupees a liter nowadays. So it's not at all possible by using photobioreactors, which is very, very energy demanding, cost intensive. That's why people are resorting to open ponds, but there are challenges, technological challenges, process challenges. Can you really grow algae in an open system, which may be attacked by protists, protozoa, and so on, and bacteria? That means the algal cultures will be contaminated. So how can you grow only algae? Ultimately, we may lose the most productive strain. The strain is a word I hope you understand, which is applicable to microorganisms. So these are the questions. And then we have designed our own system and enabled our algae to grow at little higher temperature, algae to grow at little higher salinity, more than 3.5% NaCl, little higher temperature, around 40 plus degrees Celsius, 36, 37 plus, and also higher pH, 8 to 11, so as to minimize, if not eliminate, the contaminations from bacteria, from protists, protozoa, and fungi, right? So if you can ensure these and grow your algal biomass to, as I said, a density as high as at least 5 grams per liter, then we can have these options which may be viable in the near future. Ethanol from starch, if your algal cells contain a lot of starch. If it contains a lot of lipid, then biodiesel by transesterification, catalytic. And if you consider only biomass, the entire biomass which is produced at high density, we can produce algal oil. This oil harvest, then hydro treating. This includes pyrolysis, basically thermochemical conversions to alkanes. It can go through these again hydrocarbons and then hydrocracking, what we call dehydroxygenation reactions, catalytic reactions. I already mentioned, to jet fuel or gasoline. These would be real alternative to fossil fuels, my friends. Not these. These are oxygenated compounds. Okay. Hydrogen is separate. Yes. Hydrogen methanol will be biogas, but hydrogen is separate. Ethanol and biodiesel are oxygenated compounds. They cannot really compare in terms of energy density and calorific value with the fossil fuels. So the whole world is now moving towards this. But again, there are so many technological and economic challenges. So our journey and footprints, we actually move with this kind of vision of creating value and adding value to our existing systems. Okay, we have done in the last, I would say, I have been to IIT Kharagpur for the last, I would say, 18 years or so, a little more than that, or 18 years, I would say, plus years. So we have been able to produce these products, but most relevant ones is biofuels with carbon capture and waste valorization. We also worked on MEOR, microbial enhanced oil recovery, by leveraging the production of biosurfactants and biopolymers by our marine and thermophilic bacteria. So these are certain products. But whatever we do in microalgal or microbial refinery model, always we keep in mind the challenges before us in terms of energy input or net energy gain, water input and quality, land use change, GHG emissions, scale, and labor. I always discuss with my students so that they keep these things in mind and develop the processes, stabilize the processes, optimize, intensify, integrate the processes in such a way that these challenges, at least some of them, are addressed, while keeping in mind the sustainability issues around feedstock, around environment, around economy, society, and geopolitical issues. So that is what I was mentioning. We try to valorize wastewater to produce multiple things, including biofuels, reusable water, doing carbon capture simultaneously, and producing food and feed. Recently, we have discovered a biopolymer. Very interestingly, Ramit and our biofuel team has worked on it. This is an algal polysaccharide. We need to characterize it fully, which is produced in good amount. Hopefully, in the near future, this can be characterized as a valuable molecule. Now, coming to the proof of concept. So we use industrial wastewater from or municipal wastewater. Even we have used IIT community wastewater. Industry is, probably mostly from IAB Agro. We have got wastewater, and petroleum. Haldia Petrochemicals Limited, we got some wastewater. So we have used this wastewater, and then we see the flue gas generating system that we designed, developed, fabricated, got it fabricated, installed here. And we designed based on the heat transfer data that we collected from thermal power plant, which is situated close by IIT Kharagpur. It's called Kolaghat Thermal Power Plant. We had developed some collaboration with them under the West Bengal DST project. So as you can see, I hope I can run a video. Here we burn coal. The gas rises through a heat exchanger, which cools down the gas, flue gas, and then it goes through a smoke and particulate air filter through a long chimney, comes through this smoke and particulate air filter, then goes through a scrubber to remove SOx and NOx, and then it is stored in a cylinder like this, from which it is purged into the algal pond, raceway pond. This is a 300-liter pond, which is shown here. And for this, we need inoculum, which is developed in small scale, and further, we have 30-liter photobioreactor that you can get to see here. From this 30-liter, we put it, transfer the culture, seed culture to 300-liter, grow it to higher density. And we have developed a patentable algal biomass harvesting, patented rather, algal biomass harvesting technology, which needs to be scaled up. This is a conveyor belt kind of a system. We'll discuss if question comes. It is now patented as Algorbent, which is an adsorbent system, probably one of the most efficient system reported so far. It actually removes the moisture from the settled biomass, not the suspension, but the settled biomass. So the algal thick slurry of algal biomass, and then we can remove 85 to 90% moisture from algal biomass, and it can produce almost dry algal biomass, which is good enough to be processed for biodiesel and bioethanol or bio-oil. So this is the pathway that we followed under CSR Nimitli project from 2010 to 2013. And we produced biodiesel, we characterized it in TLC, in GC, GCMS, and so on, and operated a diesel engine. It was operated in mechanical engineering department, IIT Kharagpur, to test the performance of this biodiesel in terms of ASTM parameters. It complied very well, and also BSFC, brake specific fuel consumption, and BTE, brake thermal efficiency, and so on. It qualified quite well as a biodiesel product. So that gave us a lot of satisfaction. We have come up with publications also and some patents. So as you can now see a little closer, this is the flue stack. In an academic setup, it is kind of a unique setup. The entire integrated facility is a unique setup. That's what DST and DBT officials commented. So from here you can so this is a heat exchanger, shell and tube. Those are from chemical engineering or mechanical engineering background. Shell and tube heat exchanger, we use water to cool the gas temperature. Then it goes through a longer chimney, the temperature is further cooled down. It goes through a smoke and particulate air filter, which is kind of a back filter, which removes smoke and particulate matter. This is scrubber. All this from scrubber, NOx and SOx are removed, and then we fill in this cylinder, and then we sparge from this cylinder into these twin raceway ponds. One is controlled, another is experimental, and produce algal biomass, harvest that biomass to produce pigments, biodiesel, and animal feed. This was done under that project, WBDST and CSI ultimately, I think till 2015 or so. And I don't know whether it will run. Probably not here, but okay, if time permits, I will run from a separate file. That's a video. So this is what I have mentioned, and we could grow it to on 9th day, we could find 2.5, probably that much, yeah, 2.25 gram per liter by using flue gas going through these stages, okay? And that is considered to be quite a good amount of biomass. And then we also developed, I wish this video worked, developed a smart, green, reusable, nanocomposite-based sustainable cell harvesting and disruption. This is one unique, nanocomposite that not only separates the cells from the cell, what you call broth or cell suspension, but also disrupt these cells so as to release lipids into the medium, or starch, or carbohydrate into the medium. So anyway, those files are not there, backup files probably, that's why it's not. But if time permits and Professor Dubey permits, I will run this video separately. Okay, recently our challenge was to scale this up, the entire process to scale up to 2000 liter scale. That was, I had shown 300 to 400 liter scale. So in order to scale up, we have done some more R&Ds so as to develop more robust, algal cells. We had gone through these R&D process steps. Okay, and then this is something, a new idea that we tried to imbibe for our process, for our R&D. We tried to capture the carbon dioxide. We realized we could figure out through our experiences that if you directly sparge carbon dioxide into the algal pond, most of the 90% of carbon dioxide that's being sparged will escape. Though we had multiple injection ports, though we had alkaline pH, though we had the conducive environment to capture more and more algal biomass, but still we were losing carbon dioxide. So the question we asked in 2009-10, and the answer that we got recently, the answer was known, but it took time for us to come up with a publication. Can we convert this carbon dioxide into bicarbonate before the algal pond and then supply the algal cells with bicarbonate rather than gaseous carbon dioxide? And the R&D of that has given us this paper in a very good journal, Journal of Clean Air Production. Ramit is the first author, along with Dr. Anirban Dasgupta, Ravi Ranjan. Yeah, Ravi Ranjan is visiting US now, attending a conference. Well, and it has given us very high, I would say comparatively higher biomass, 3.2 plus minus 0.2 gram per liter, with this kind of new, I wouldn't say technological intervention, but process intervention that we have done. To our surprise, if we allow the cells for some time, for 6 hours, we found the cells were settling on their own, and you could see clear liquid that is in the supernatant, and cells are settled down at the bottom. And then while studying the science behind it, our biofuel team could figure out that it was due to the EPS that is formed, which was forming, kind of an agglomerate that is facilitating the biomass to settle down within 4 hours. And that this was about biocathode that we worked in collaboration with Professor Gangreka. Gitanjali worked, okay. And Dr. Dinesh Kumar, who is now a senior scientist in CSMCRI, Bhavnagar. He worked on lutein, as I mentioned, and also worked on carbon dioxide sequestration in a photobioreactor. Lutein happens to be a very good antioxidant and anti-cancer molecule. He also worked on biodiesel. This is the EPS which I was mentioning. I wanted to show, okay, and more scientific insights we have got due to paucity of time, I'm not including those slides. In fact, the team could find out that this EPS is there, attaching the cells, making a biofilm sort of, and helping the cells to settle down, agglomerate. So this is happening, bioflocculation is happening in situ. And we have now been able to purify this EPS. We are now in the process of characterizing it. If we look at the entire picture, the bigger picture of it, we started from this flue gas generation system. We are growing it into small scale, then 30 liter, then 60 liter, then 300, and now 2000 liter, producing multiple products, bioelectricity, algal-based fish feed, biodiesel, and then producing reusable water. The biomass is now being subjected to produce bio-oil, and this is the facility, the 2000 liter facility that we have developed under imprint program. This is close by our department. I invite those who are here, you may come and visit this facility. Again, these are not okay. I wish, anyway. There are some videos which Ramit provided. Yeah, you can, hopefully this will be run. So this is a small scale inoculum development facility. We are doing it in 20 liter bubble column reactor. And then 300 liter, which is actually 400 liter capacity, but we operate 300 liter. So we grow here. From there, we move to this 2000 liter facility. That's just after adding the inoculum. It's fresh green, and then it gets denser with time, and we get a good amount of biomass from here. The entire facility is here, which is an integrated, intensified facility, starting from the flue gas generation system to flue gas storage, then carbon dioxide, which is 10 to 12% in the flue gas, which is somewhere there. Well, you can see Professor Dubey's name here. We work together in collaboration to do this study, a comparative life cycle assessment of microalgae production by CO2 sequestration from flue gas in outdoor estuary ponds under batch and semi-continuous regime. Thank you, Professor Dubey, to be a great support. Hopefully, in the near future, we'll continue to do better work. That's it. I would like to show, actually, due to, okay, but before I forget, let me acknowledge. These are some more publications. If you want to have a look, you can look. These are Journal of CO2 Utilization, Bioresource Technology, and Journal of Cleaner Production. These are earning a lot of citations, so I would request the students to, you may go through this, okay? And now, first I must thank, my students who have been a pillar of support for me, the biofuel team, which has contributed, very especially Ramit Mitra, then Sandipan Bhomik, then Satyanarayana Reddy Batula, then Santosh Nambi, Shayari Mukherjee, and then others, as I mentioned, Dr. Ankush Karimore, Dr. Gitanjali Yadav, Dr. Ganeshan, Subramanian. There are so many, Dr. Goldie Dev, they are all there in different organizations now. They all contributed. Dr. Dinesh Kumar contributed immensely to the endeavor, research endeavor that we have been undertaking since 2009 onwards. So thank you, guys. My students, if I forgot to mention any name, please forgive me. There are, even MTech students who have contributed. Okay, Sarveshwar, Indranil Mitra, and there are other students. So thank you very much. And then all my teachers, my friends, philosophers, and guides, all my research students, all my colleagues, collaborators, Professor Dubey, thank you for your kind gesture, for your invitation, for giving me this opportunity. And above all, the critics, they actually kindle the fire that are within us. all the funding agencies that have funded our projects, my family, friends, and well-wishers, and finally, the one infinite, pure and holy, beyond thought, beyond qualities, I bow down to thee. Thank you very much. Quickly, some questions, and by the time if I can operate the video while answering. Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible. You are audible, and we have the next speaker also online as well.
Oh, sorry.
So that's
My apologies, Giri. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Longer time.
So I'm pretty sure you must be knowing Mr. Giri from before. So since
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, then question answer session can be,
yeah, we can do it
You
probably
can
later.
advise the students to send the questions by email.
Sure. I'll do that.
Sorry for now. I see 1640. Sorry for taking.
No problem.
Yes.
I think.
Thank you very much.